The B Plus Recap Countdown.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? It's B Plus, and welcome back to yet another recap countdown. In fact, this is the very first recap countdown of the year 2023. So I'm very excited about it for that reason, but I'm also very excited just because I've been a fan of this artist for close to 20 years. He's always been one of my favorite artists. We are talking about none other than The Truth, or should I say EMANUEL, and his self-entitled project entitled EMANUEL that came out about a week ago on January the 27th. So we're going to dig into that in today's recap countdown. And it's always very fun, always very interesting when you're taking a look at a project from an artist who's a vet in the game, who's been in the game for 10, 15 plus years. And you kind of have that thought of, are they going to kind of give us what we're used to? Or are they going to kind of hop on the new wave and try out some of the styles of some of the younger artists? Or are they going to do something completely different and kind of blaze a new trail? So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. If this is your first time checking out a recap countdown, really quickly, what I do is I take a look at my 5 favorite bars, my 4 favorite beats, my 3 favorite tracks, my 2 favorite features, and I'll round everything out with one final recap. In the case of the EMANUEL project, there were a ton of features, so it's going to be hard to narrow it down to 2. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give shout outs to the various feature artists as we go through the recap countdown, until we get to the number 2 section, where I kind of give you my 2 favorite features off of this project. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop into EMANUEL's 12th studio project entitled EMANUEL. Let's go ahead and do it.
5 bars.
I'm selfish down to the core, yeah, that's not who I wanna be. If all my relationships fall apart, then the common denominator is me, yeah. And I run my life every day, life is nefarious, that's why my prayers intense. I feel like I'm suffocating, just to make it I need therapy, since I'm not liking what the mirror reflects. I confess I got a fear of rejection, drowning, I need God to help me. I know he got me, stop me, not me, I'm here, I know that I can. People love me on the surface, they don't understand the plot. I ain't big enough to worship, if you could put me in a box. Hey, 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 if you could put me in a box, yeah. I ain't big enough to worship, if you could put me in a box, yeah. 6 a.m. and I'm walking to the train. Boy, 20 plus years and I'm switching up the name. Boy, think I know how Jay felt when he had to leave Dame. Yeah, Dave ran through a cave, but he came out a king. It's different from when I was riding a train. I guess it's the creative license I got, but I never intended to drive him insane. Only intended to drive in my lane. Boy, I'm about to hype for my name. Truth, yeah.
All right, so those were my 5 favorite bars off of EMANUEL's self-entitled project. One of the things I really enjoyed about this project, just from a lyrical standpoint, it's very transparent, and that's nothing new for EMANUEL. He's been doing that, like I said, for close to 20 years. So I really enjoyed that, and you heard that in the lines that I chose for number 5 and also for number 4. So let's talk about the common denominator bar that he had on hold. Now, that really stuck with me just because a lot of times in our personal lives, we have to really assess some things sometimes to figure out if we're the ones that are lacking in a friendship. In my particular case, a lot of my meaningful, almost all of my meaningful relationships are long distance. So that requires another level of intentionality. So that's why that one stuck out to me. Moving on to number 4 on Count on You. I really enjoyed that therapy line, and just like how animated he was with gasping for breath, just because from my personal standpoint, I really do feel like therapy really does breathe fresh air into your life, just because you're getting a new perspective. So I really enjoyed that one. Moving on to number 3, I just really enjoyed those lines from King, just because it just talks about the transcendence of God. Like, we have a lot of denominations, a lot of doctrines, a lot of things that we try to understand God from an intellectual standpoint, but we can do all that work. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that work, but you can do all that work and you still aren't doing the very best job of articulating just his transcendence. So that was my favorite on that song, King. And then shout out to Fred Hammond. He definitely killed his feature on there. I would love to hear him on more Christian hip hop albums, if that's possible, from some of the OGs. So moving on to number 2, In the Dark. I really enjoyed that just because of the Jay-Z Dame Dash line. I thought that was really cool. But even more so than that, whenever somebody can have our Old Testament bars, like he referenced King David hiding in the cave of Adullam, that's just a very, very, very clever line there. And also just because, like, I was raised in church, my mother superintendent at Sunday school, I know a lot of these Bible stories. So when somebody can dig into the Old Testament and to have some Old Testament bars. I really enjoy that. And then my favorite bar on the entire project is a little bit sentimental just because of the train that he references in that bar. He's talking about him sitting at a train station on his very first studio project entitled Moment of Truth. And so he just kind of points back to his very first studio album, and then he used like the creative license. Then he talked about having Drive, and then he ends it just talking about his new name. So that was my favorite bar on this project. Now let's move over to my 4 favorite beats.
4 beats.
My friend, if you could see the product that's coming out of pain, boy, that'll keep you smiling when you're standing in the rain, boy. God, he never promised we could pray away our problems, but I bet $1 million he be with us all the way. Hey, boy,
and turn it to the ooh that ever happened to me.
so it's a different day. I'm not indifferent, I'm on a different wave. Praise
Somebody,
yeah.
tell him he's good.
So
And tell him he's Lord. Oh yeah. Tell him how he broke you out. Tell him how he broke you out. Dare you to screaming.
All that I've been through, thought that I was through, but I know it's true.
Father, I repent, haven't been perfect, made a few mistakes, none of it was worth it. Gotta obey, narrow is the way, but there's a thin line between black, white, and gray. Every cloud has a
I set the pace, I set the bar, yeah, you know where you been, know where you are, yeah.
Okay, so those are my 4 favorite pieces of production on EMANUEL's self-entitled project. The reason why I switched it up and said pieces of production instead of beats, just because I feel like it kind of shortchanges what was done on this project when it comes to the instrumentation that EMANUEL put into this project. So let's go ahead and go through these 4 through 1, starting off with Fresh Lemonade and number 4. I thought that was this really nice spin on the original version of this song that came out about a year ago called just Lemonade. Now, I just thought it was really nice just because it's like a traditional remix where they just kind of change up the beat, but for the most part, the song sounds, or the song stays the same. So that's what I liked about number 4. Moving on to number 3, I really enjoyed Tell Somebody, just because it just had such of like a church element to it. I really enjoyed that. Shout out to Miranda Curtis. She's a very dope vocalist. Man, she just really did a great job on that. You have to stick around to figure out if she made my 2 favorite features on the project. Moving on to number 2 with Alright. I really enjoyed that one as well, just because I got my start in DJing at a skating rink. Me and my brother were the house DJs at a skating rink in Cincinnati, and this is one of those skate groove type of tracks. Really enjoyed that one. And for number 1, it obviously goes to Set the Bar. Everybody that I've talked to really enjoyed the cinematic feel. It really feels like a movie. From my perspective, I just felt like the production was so patient. They didn't like dump everything on at the beginning. It just slowly builds up, and it really just delivered through every twist and turn of the production. So there goes my 4 favorite beats. Now we're starting to get to the tougher part of the recap countdown. We're gonna hop into my 3 favorite tracks.
3 favorites.
Popular truth with my call list. Free my ambition, submitted to who God is. Free questions that need answers. Standards free. Still wrestle with things that I ain't mastered. Free God students, we all in the same classrooms. Free, that's why your boy never cancels. Handsome.
Free indeed. Let your freedom ring.
Don't you wanna be
Just to manage. Man, I had a height disadvantage. I don't know why Kev took his life, but I had a light in the shadows. I was running alleys in the streets. All my homies' life was a shambles. In between the valleys and the peaks, it was really Christ in the battles. Yeah. Now it's nights in Atlanta. Boy. You'll never be. Proud to be in my 40s, my audience never leaves. Not afraid to get older, my oldest is 23. Older I get, the more that I notice to let it breathe. Gone, kinda proud of the wrinkle that's on my face. Before I'm 45, got some things that I wanna change. Still a young soul with a dream that I gotta chase. And some things that I wanna say like these hands,
they keep growing in. They keep.
All right. So those were my 3 favorite songs off of Emmanuel's self-entitled project. And I know it doesn't make sense just because Set the Bar had my favorite bar on the project. It also had my favorite piece of production on the project, but somehow, some way, it doesn't make my top 3. I know, make it make sense. But the reason why I did that is because I just really enjoyed the song Free. And the reason why I enjoyed the song Free is just because I feel like that song really hits the sentiment of this entire project, just in my humble opinion. Now, Emmanuel's gone on a couple of interviews. He had one with the track stars that I really enjoyed, and he was just really talking about the difference between The Truth versus Emmanuel. Now, The Truth is somebody, from his standpoint, is somebody who had all the answers. They had songs like Moment of Truth. It's a very definite thing. Next album, The Faith, very definite. And now, in his later stage of his career, he's a little bit more nuanced. There's a little bit more gray area. There's a little bit more of like, maybe I don't know, or maybe I don't know as much as I thought I knew, and I'm just walking out this faith and leaning on the Lord. So I feel like that's like the difference between Emmanuel and The Truth, if you had to ask me that. So that's number 3. And shout out to Kim Burrell, like she's a vocal monster. So that was number 3, Free. Moving on to number 2, Nights in Atlanta. Really enjoyed that song just because number 1, just because Greg Cox is on there. Greg Cox is a fantastic artist. I feel like Truth and him have quite a bit of songs together. They might just need to do like an EP together. But the reason why I like Nights in Atlanta, just because it's like a more grown-up version, in my opinion, of his song called My Story, which is like his testimony story of how he was raised as a kid. And now Nights in Atlanta, to me, is almost like, after going through all the things that he's gone through in life, and everything has brought him to this moment where he's spending his nights in Atlanta, doing ministry there, walking out his faith there. And I feel like that's a lot of the case for me as well. I've kind of gone through a whole lot of different things in my life, lived in 3 different states, and now I'm here in the DFW area. And so it just kind of really resonates with me. So that's number 2. And then moving on to number 1, my favorite song on the project, shout out to PJ Morton. It has to go to Gray Hair. I really enjoyed that one just because it's just such a grown song. It's again, it just kind of fits the sentiment of the entire project, especially like the album cover being black and white. And maybe that's maybe there's something there with him saying that there's more gray in his life because the album cover is all gray and white. But I'm getting way off topic. But Gray Hair, that's my favorite song on the project. PJ Morton did his thing, and it's just a matter of growing older and just kind of realizing your mortality. So very, very fantastic song. So those were my 3 favorite songs. Now let's move over to the more impossible part of the recap countdown, taking a look at my 2 favorite features.
2 features.
Alright, it's alright. Time has begun. Alright, alright. Rise up, kingdom. Alright, alright. Time has begun. I'll set my crown at your feet and rejoice. Yeah, come to you humble. Know this soft love's too ya. I stay on my knees. I sit back 'cause you're the show. I give it all back 'cause you're enough.
All right, so those were my 2 favorite features, the impossible task of picking 2 features off of Emmanuel's self-entitled project. So I started things off with Dante Bowe at number 2 on Kingdom. Now, I really enjoyed that just because I've been a fan of Dante Bowe before the Maverick City years. He had a project, I remember the album cover was red. I can't remember the name of the project off the top of my head, but I've been a fan of him for quite a long time, but I just always have loved the grit and rasp of his voice. And I really feel like he got a little bit into his John Legend bag on this song, the way he was just kind of elevating his voice, but still kind of having like that gritty sound. So, and I also just loved like the end of that song, just how that song just got kind of landed, like with the is it real, like those lines there. So that was number 2 for my favorite features. Moving on to number 1, I cheated just because this is my recap countdown and I get to do that. So I cheated and I chose 2 artists for my favorite on the song Crown. It was Todd Delaney and Aaron Cole. No, Todd Delaney had like that more worship feel. I feel like this in general, like the vibe of the song got a little folky, and then it went like really vibey with Aaron Cole, and then lastly Truth came in with some dope bars. So those were so them together were my favorite feature on this project. Now let's go ahead and talk about this album in general and give one last recap.
1. Recap.
Hey, what's up? It's B Plus, and you have been checking out the recap countdown of Emmanuel's self-entitled project that came out on January the 27th, 2023. And in conclusion, as you can tell, I really enjoyed this project. Like I said, I've been a fan for close to 20 years, and something that I often do when it comes to a project, after I listen to it and live with it for about a week, I just think of 3 words that come to mind as I've been listening to the project. And 3 words that come to mind for this one is longevity, strength, and free. That's just kind of how I feel after I get done listening to this project, like I said, for about a week or so. And yeah, just like I said in the intro, it's always very interesting when you have a vet coming back and still doing their thing. Which lane are they going to go in? What we're used to, kind of get on a new wave or create something new. And I feel like what Emmanuel has done is created something new. But if you really follow along his career, this really is nothing new. The first thing when he released his list of all the collabs with all the gospel artists, I was just like, man, like this is amazing. I've never seen this before. But then I thought about it and I kind of looked through the Truth, or now should I say Emmanuel's discography, and I found out that like he's been doing this. He's had records with Donnie McClurkin, that is, Ty Tribbett, Kirk Franklin. Even going back, he had one with Lisa McClendon. Shout out to her. Jason Fortune, Travis Green, the list kind of goes on and on. So he's been collaborating with the gospel artists, but I'm very excited to see what comes of this, just because kind of like it's really limitless. We can see him on tours with some of these gospel artists, and he can really show his just his musical ability just outside of being a rapper. So there's so much that I can say about the project. I'm just going to kind of rattle through a few things in my notes here. I do got to give a shout out to Tamla Mann. I really like how he used her throughout the entire project with her hymns. And then the other thing that just kind of popped in my head when I was listening to the song In the Dark, I thought it was a very dope song, but I kind of got an idea for a music video of the song actually, or the music video being shot in a dark room where film is developed, and having like a dope male vocalist group like the Hamiltons or somebody in there, and they're singing like the background. And yeah, that's just my idea of how, if I had the ability to shoot a video for In the Dark, that's probably how I would do it. I saw a lot of parallels of this project to his previous works. I have a bunch of them, but the one that I will share is the song King, him just kind of rapping from God's perspective. He's done that before with this song on The Big Picture entitled I Am Legend. So I feel like he's kind of taken some different elements from his different works throughout his career, and he's given us a very great album. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I know a lot of people feel like, oh man, he may not be giving us what he's given us in the past or something like that. But you have to give these artists the ability to grow, the ability to mature. I believe that Emmanuel is 45 years old, and a lot of times we do get artists who are up in age and they just try to use the younger wave, and we don't like that. So we have to be able to appreciate when an artist is kind of blazing that new trail for their career. And I feel like there's a lot more in the tank for Emmanuel. So with that being said, let me make sure I don't have anything left to say. I probably do. Maybe I'll do a part 2, maybe I won't. So I want to thank you guys for checking out this recap countdown. Thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. Always feel free to follow me over on Twitter. I can be found at DJ_B_plus. You can feel free to just interact with me there. I always enjoy interacting with the different artists and fans over there. You can also feel free to hop down in the comment section of this video and let me know what your favorite bars, beats, favorite tracks were, favorite features, the whole 9 yards. Also, I do have a radio show on SiriusXM, the Be Positive Music Show, each and every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you check that out. A whole lot of information going on. So make sure you follow me wherever you can. Hit all the bells, hit all the notifications. And I really do appreciate you guys. And until next time, peace in, confusion out, and be positive.